Hello everyone, welcome back. Coach Fury here, and today we're going to be going back into my online Draft Day Sports College Ball 2016 Let's Play series. So as you may be aware if you followed the series along, and for those who haven't and just picking up from the very beginning here, we're with St John's Red Storm, and we're with some team goals really to try and qualify for the NCAA tournament, to finish in top half of our conference, to win 15 plus games this year, and to improve our school prestige. So let's see how we've been getting on over the past week or so since I last picked this up. So I think last time we touched on that we had our first opening conference games against Georgetown and Butler, and I sort of described there that they were going to be really tough games for us, in that I expected both of those to be in the top half of our conference at least, and probably Georgetown and Butler probably to be up there in possibly the top four as well. So you can see instantly that we went 1-1 with that series, and if you want to sort of know a little bit more about those games, check the previous episode out, and I go into complete detail and explain how we got on with those. So I sort of mentioned that we sort of had three difficult games coming up, but I was very hopeful that we'd win at least two of them, and you can see here that we actually won all three. I was expecting the Villanova game here to be the one that we'd lose, because Villanova are one of the human general managers, coaches in our conference, and I was expecting that one to be a real tough battle, because the scout report that they gave us on the actual game, I knew that the human GM was running something completely different, so I was expecting that one to be a really tough game. And then obviously we got the win against Providence and Marquette as well, two games that I expected us to win really, if we were to try and challenge for that top half position and possibly to get into a conference finals. So if we start off with the Villanova game to begin with, this was the one that, as I said, that I expected this to be our toughest game, and it was quite a tough game for us really. We didn't shoot as well as we could have. They obviously shot a lot better than us. But looking down, it was our tempo, I think, that got us this, and the fact that we are very much a live or die team from the 3-point line, which got us through this. You know, shooting 14 threes out of 32 attempts was probably the difference for us. You can see there on the left hand side here that our main man Ike Augustine got us the win as well, with having a fantastic game, going off for 21 points. Off of okay shooting numbers, not particularly great, but you know he takes a lot of shots from 3-point land because of our strategy that we play. We predominantly play a lot of triangle offense, so he obviously will operate a lot with cuts or from the 3-point line. So he had a really good game in the sense that he kind of filled the box score a lot for us with some solid rebounding, a couple of assists there. You know, his turnovers were not too good, but that's fine. But we seem to play okay. Interestingly, our backcourt, I sort of touched on last time, that I felt our backcourt might struggle against Villanova, who have got a pretty good backcourt for a college team. You see there sort of Kurt Brown struggling with his minutes there. Probably got in a lot of foul trouble, even though he committed 4 fouls. He only lasted 19 minutes. But Terence Cook had a good game. No turnovers for him. Couple of several assists for him, and he managed to shoot pretty well out there, especially from 3-point range, 3 or 4, which is excellent. So overall from this game, I was really happy with it. I think we managed to, obviously we had a large lead as well at one stage, so we obviously we came out of the in the first half, dominating that first half, and sort of, despite losing that second half by 5 points there, you can see up here, we still managed to pull it out of the bag with our good start, which is great to see. So I was really happy with that. Didn't expect that win, which was really promising. And then we went to Providence, a game that I kind of expected us to win, and we did win. I mean, obviously we're not going to be the best shooting team by the looks of it. I mean, again, the other team, Providence shot a lot better than us, but again, our main man Ike Augustine came out big for us in grabbing 27 points, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 3 rebounds, and 1 steal, which is excellent. It's really good to see that the guy that we're going to be leaning on heavily throughout this year to to stand any chance of really performing against any of the top conference teams, top teams across the college spectrum, has been doing really well for us. You can see here that again, Kurt Brown only lasted 8 minutes, so possibly it might have been an injury. We'll have a look later to see whether he has had an injury. But 8 minutes, he didn't do a great deal in those 8 minutes. But you see again, Jim Claggett had a good game for us, sort of our temporary centre, because we haven't really got anyone who's a decent rebounder, so we've had to sort of throw him in there, and he sort of seems to be grabbing those defensive balls for us, which is really important. Again, if we sort of scroll down, you can see we shot really well from 3-point land again, which is a really good thing to see from our team. It means that teams can't just zone up on us, which is really good, and it might free up some opportunities for the likes of Jim Claggett and Ike Augustine in the paint range, if we can keep shooting solidly from 3-point range. We can see again, we started really well. We came out in the first half and had a really good performance, and in the second half we obviously lost it, where we probably started to drop off a bit. But that initial start from us again got us the win again. And I love the fact that this location here is the Dunkin' Donuts Centre. I don't know if that's an actual real arena, but if it is, I'm going to have a look at that later, because that's a brilliant sponsorship name for a college team's arena. So we got the win against Providence. We then went to Marquette, and this was a really just a horrible shooting night for both teams, really. Real defensive night, I guess, in the fact that it was a really low scoring game. You can see here that we only shot 29%, which is atrocious, and they shot 32%. And again, it was probably, if I scroll down, it's probably our 3-point shooting that got us out again, sort of showing that we are a bit of a run sort of 3-point shooting team. Doesn't look like we take a lot of points in the paint, as you can see here. The other games sort of points that out. So we are very much a bit of a sort of outside the arc team, which is fine. We had in terms of the performance, again, we came out really well, and we sort of matched them in the second half, which kind of got us this win. You can see here Terence Cook had the player of the game for us, and he was the only one who really shot okay for us, to be honest with you. So 6 of 14, which is not too bad. Shot pretty well from 3-point range, 5 of 12. But he managed to get several quite a few rebounds for us, a block and a couple of steals, which is really good to see. I mean, you don't normally see a point guard at this level who, I think he's only 6'1", Terence Cook in this, but he to get 5 defensive rebounds is excellent. So again, we played really well. Ike Augustine had a bit of a terrible shooting night, but I think everyone did in general. But we seemed to dominate the boards a bit, grabbing those 37. Well, no, we didn't, the 41, but we seemed to sort of hold them on defense with the boards. We didn't grab too many offensive boards, that might be why. And we forced them into quite a few turnovers. You can see there they committed 14 turnovers to our 7, and we managed to block quite a few shots. Ben Seals here having a sort of interesting game. Ben Seals has been one of those sort of characters for us. I don't think he's, I sort of pointed out at the beginning of the season, he's one of those who's got the potential to become one of the stars in our sort of college team if he sort of continues to develop. Hence why we've put him in the lineup this year and moved Jim Claggett down. But he's one of those who seems to be really good at rebounding, and he seems to be one of those who sort of fills the box score and doesn't really require the ball to be effective, which is really good when you've got players like Augustine and Cook who will take a lot of the shots. But here he's got 10 rebounds, 5 blocks, and he shot perfectly for his 4 points. Getting to the line as well, which is good. But he's an interesting one. I've sort of looking at him the past couple of games and sort of deciding, is he really good enough for our starting lineup or not? But he seems to be one of those, like I said, he doesn't need the ball, which is really good to have in any team, really. And to be effective, he seems to do a bit of everything else, which is really good. So you can see there, we came off for these 3 games and we got the 3 wins, which is really, really good. And it sort of propelled us in the standings a little bit. So where we were sort of sitting, I think we were around here 1-1, and we've sort of stepped up our game really and sort of gone into second place, a bit of an early sort of push here. It'd be interesting to see if we can keep this up. Obviously there's still a lot of games left to play, but you can see here, as I sort of touched on last time, Seton Hall Pirates have just been dominating us, dominating this conference at the moment. Sort of come out with a really good start for them. If we jump to the schedule a little bit, we'll just have a look and see who they've played. So, you know, they've won 5 straight. You know, beating Butler, Villanova, Providence, Marquette, Xavier. So they haven't played Georgetown yet. They haven't played us yet, and they haven't played Creighton yet, who's the other sort of human general manager who I think will give them a good run for their money. Who they've got next. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, they've really started really well. And like I said, they're sort of a bit of a shock for us. I think it's been mainly this, you know, I said last time, this man Kevin Hayes has been on electric form for them, performing really well. Let's have a little look at his player stats and see how he's been doing. So in the game logs you can see here, yeah, look, he's 27 points, 22 points, 33 points to begin with, and then sort of as we sort of come into conference games, he sort of hasn't let up here. You know, he had a bit of a low game against Marquette, it looks like. We didn't have too many shooting opportunities, but he's sort of been doing really well from beyond in sort of the guard positions for them. And just have a little look. There was another guy I think we sort of touched on last time who I think it's Belair's, but I'm just going to double check. Yeah, it must have been Belair's. So I think it's Belair's as well has been the only one who's sort of a real traditional centre in our sort of conference, and hence why he's probably been dominating against a lot of teams really. You can see he has definitely. I mean, 31 points. 5 rebounds, 15 and 8, 13 and 18, 4 and 14, and 30 and 13 there. I mean, he obviously is having a bit of a field day against some of the conference teams, and it seems like those two are really pulling Seton Hall into the top of the standings at the moment, and they're looking really strong. So they're probably going to be the ones that we're going to have to probably challenge against if we are going to be looking at trying to get into sort of the top half here this year, and probably, you know, if we can get into the top 3, that they're going to probably be up there. To be honest with you, they've played some teams that I expected to be up there and sort of won quite convincingly. So it'll be tough for us. But 4-1, I'm really happy with our start. If we just have a look at the team stats and see how we've sort of been doing against some of the other teams within our conference in terms of the advanced analytics. So one of the really good things about these games and sort of any Wolverine Studios game is that they do have so many advanced analytics stats in here, and you really can go to town with it if you really want to. But we'll just touch over this. So you can see down here we've got the overview of the different types of stats that we can look at. For me, I'm not going to bother looking at sort of all of these, but it'd be interesting to have a look at. So I mean, in terms of tempo, you can see Seton Hall's up there in the top 2. So obviously playing quite a running game. So that might explain why some of their guards are getting a lot more shots than possibly some of their other players. But we'll see how that impacts when we actually do get to play them. But let's have a look at just the offensive ratings and defensive ratings. So, you know, we've got defensive rating for points allowed, allowing free throw attempts percentage, and then we've got a offensive rating for the same thing, points getting free throw attempts. So in terms of us, I mean, when I looked at this earlier, we were sort of middle of the pack really well, I think last episode. So we sort of jumped to a top 3 in our offensive sort of rating, which is really good. I think that's been the main thing that's been driving us. Like I said, that shooting from 3-point range has been really effective for us with our sort of strategy. So hopefully we can keep that up. And if we look at defensive rating, we're not particularly a great defensive team. So it'll be interesting to see how we do. It seems like our offense has been carrying us a lot. Let's just have a quick look at the regular stats, and let's just have a look at see a 3-point percentage and see where we are in that. So we're not really, shooting a great 3-point percentage, but it looks like we're taking a lot of 3 points, up there with DePaul. So, like I said, I think that's been the main thing that's been sort of keeping us in games and keeping us winning games, has been that sort of 3-point shooting that we sort of seem to be dumping a lot from outside the arc, and that seems to have been effective for us so far. So, I mean, in terms of the standings, like I said, it was interesting to see that we're sort of up there. I mean, Villanova, the other human sort of manager coach within our league, has been doing well, and Creighton's the other one, so he's had a bit of a rocky start, but we'll touch on that later. Let's take a look at our roster. Let's see if we've got any injuries. Looks like we haven't, so maybe it was the fact that maybe Kurt Brown had a minor injury, that's why he only played 8 minutes in that second game for us. That may have explained it, because he didn't really play too many minutes, and it didn't look like he got into any real foul trouble there. So it looks like he may have just picked up a slight injury, but it looks like he's back on board now. If we take a look, and we'll just quickly flick through and see some of the team stats. So obviously Cook's been doing okay. We know he's a defensive liability, but he had a player of the game in the last in this episode last week we sort of commented on. So he's been playing well. Brown sort of looks like he's had an injury, but I mean our backcourt is fairly weak, I would say, in comparison to other teams in the conference. So that could be an issue going forward. If we look with Devitt, like I said last episode, he's been doing okay. I mean, I don't think he's quite made a case for starting for us yet. I mean, his shooting hasn't been particularly great in the past couple of games, so I think we'll leave him just on the bench for now, seeing if he can get any sort of impact as a sort of six man for us. You can see, Augustine's has been performing really well. Again, he had that sort of weak shooting night the last game against Marquette, but everyone did in general, so not too downhearted about that. But he's been playing really well for us, and we need him to keep playing really well for us to keep progressing and moving up the standings. So Lemons is that interesting sort of player I've touched on before. He looks like he's got some really good potential, and we've been giving him sort of odd minutes, but he hasn't been doing a great deal for me to warrant getting any more minutes. We've just kept him in there sort of 12 minutes to keep him ticking over really, but he hasn't done anything that sort of made me want to sort of stand up and give him more minutes. So he'll sort of stay where he is. Jim Claggett here, we know he's sort of playing a little bit out of position, but he's been doing well on the rebounds of late, really helping us in that sense. And he's been shooting okay. Against Providence, he sort of chucked up quite a lot, it looks like, but he's been doing solidly for us there. Like I said, Ben Sills is this interesting one who sort of looks like a bit of a glue man, best way to describe him, I think. But he's been doing well for us, and I'm happy. He's been effective when he's been on the court past 3 games. You can see the plus minus there, showing that he is and does have an impact, even though he doesn't need the ball. If we sort of scroll through, Dan Butler's been the interesting one that I sort of commented on last time. He was when I sort of came over and took the St John's role, he was the starting centre, and he probably was expecting to start this year, but this atrocious rebounding, I just couldn't pull myself to put him straight into the starting lineup. So he's been sort of getting mainly minutes off the bench, and he's been doing okay. But again, I mean, this rebounding, we can't have a centre who's only grabbing several rebounds a game. We need to have someone in there who can at least compete, even though he's got sort of the weight in there and the height. He seems to be a bit ineffective there. So we'll probably keep him off the bench for now, and then that's kind of it. I mean, I'm not going to touch on all the players because not all of them are getting really minutes that we can sort of comment on in a great deal. But I mean, our depth chart we'll keep the same for now. I mean, there's no reason for us to change it because we've sort of won 3 straight and we seem to be in some good form. So we'll keep that going. We'll keep the strategy the same. I think that's been working quite well for us. In the fact that a lot of the guys understand how to play the offense that we've set up for the triangle, Princeton, sort of a bit of a high post, and whilst we've commented that we've been living by the sort of 3.9 and dying by it, I think that we seem to be winning games, so we can't change it too much. And I think we'll keep it going as is. So if we take a look at sort of where we've had any sort of major news, so we haven't had any sort of disagreements between players yet over the start of the season, which is good. It means we haven't had to have any awkward phone calls with anyone. If we look at players and their GPA, so I mean Terence Cook's possibly borderline with that too, but I think we won't bother giving him a call, because you can in this game give them a call to ask them to study more, to try and see if they get their GPA up, because obviously if they drop below GPA then they're not eligible to play. But I think we're solid for that at the moment. I'm not going to chase that too much. If we look at the polls, as I sort of touched on last time, I was hopeful that if we could sort of continue to win, we can start to sort of look at cracking this top 25. And in the RPI rankings, we certainly have. I mean, we're in the sort of the 21st there, looking really strong. And you can see what's interesting up top here is Maryland has sort of just made this huge jump from last time. We sort of commented that it was basically Louisville or Connecticut that seemed to be in the top 2 all the time throughout the whole of sort of the sort of exhibition games that you have before the conference games, they were sort of just well up there, well ahead, and it seems like Maryland in the RPI rankings has just really jumped above everyone. If we take a look at sort of the coaches poll and the media poll, you see Connecticut and Louisville still sort of staying strong. They haven't budged them, even though Maryland in the RPI rankings has sort of jumped up. And we haven't quite cracked into any of these rankings yet, which is fine. Obviously they're going to be slightly different rating systems to how the RPI would work. But I'm really happy that we've managed to crack the top 25 in our sort of first few games. Sort of shows some promise and shows that we have got some talent here that we can try and develop over the season and hopefully get us into that conference tournament at the end of the season. So that's really promising for us. If we take a look now at sort of the games we've got coming up, so over the next week or so, I think we've got 3 games again. So it looks like we're playing Xavier first, then Creighton, then DePaul. So as I sort of said, Creighton's the other human general manager within our conference, so we'll comment on that in a little bit later. But let's go back to here and let's have a look at the scouting reports and see what they're thinking. Like I said, I'm not too convinced of our scouting ability because we don't really have a decent scout. The only one we have is our first assistant, but I've left him on recruiting, and that's probably something we want to address over this season. Next season is to try and get someone in who's a little bit of a better scout, because it does make an impact, because it really helps you in terms of your game strategy and who you're thinking of playing, really. Because I sort of touched on earlier that we had that game against Villanova and the human general manager was playing a completely different starting 5 to the scout report, so it did have an impact in that sense. If I hadn't noticed that, then we could have been looking at quite a heavy loss, because whether we had to adjust anything or adjust some strategy around that, it has an impact. So if we take a look at Xavier, so in terms of the general stuff, they run a sort of a normal paced offence with some offensive freedom in the basket. Interesting enough, they play the triangle offence as well, so this is going to be a battle of the similar types of offence, see who plays it the best, really. So that'll be an interesting insight, see whether we can come out better even when the team against us playing a similar sort of strategy. On defence, it looks like they play a lot of man-to-man pressure and they play a bit of full court press, so again quite similar to us. I think we play predominantly man-to-man in half court though, and we play a couple of basic offensive presses but nothing major, and a small bit of zone, I think. But so this is going to be a really interesting battle for us, because Xavier have a sort of a similar sort of record to begin with before they sort of came into the conference games. They're sort of up there 2 or 3, so it'd be interesting to see if we can get the win there. I am confident, bearing in mind we've just gone 3-0, which is excellent. And you can see here in terms of matchups that, interestingly, Terence Cook, our point guard, who is a terrible defender, seems to have the advantage over their player in Martin. So that looks like we might have a bit of a win there. In terms of everything else, it seems fairly even. It looks like they've got their star as well, seems to be their small forward as well in Archibald, and we've got Augustine, so that'll be a sort of battle of the position there. And then in terms of the bench, they seem to think that they've got a better bench, mainly because they've been getting more sort of not as many points as us, but it seems to be like they've probably got some better rebound ability and better blocking ability than us. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. So it looks like this one's a bit of a whitewash in terms of the scout report. As you see, we don't have a great deal of actual information here, which is probably signals that we don't have a very good scout, which means we'll probably want to try and address that over the next sort of season or so. But for me, I'm hopeful that we can get the win against Xavier. If we look at the next game ahead, which is Creighton, let's see if we've got a scout report for them. So yeah, we have up here. So in terms of Creighton, I think for me, when I looked at them, because obviously the other human general manager, coach, I obviously had a little look at them sort of before the season, outside of these videos, and I'm really surprised that they haven't started really well. So if we take a quick look, I think they have got some really good talent in their team. If we sort of scroll through. Yeah, so they had this, Tommy Tonell, that's a strange name, seems to be a really good player for them. And they seem to have quite a lot of talent in the post. You can see Abraham Love I'd love to have someone like this in my sort of front court. He's a really good defender, really good rebounder, and he's not a bad shot blocker actually either. So he's a really good player for them. But I was really surprised. They've also got Jason Augustine, who it seems like a really good player as well. He's really good at drawing fouls, so I'd probably play him at the 4 position, at sort of power forward, because I think that he could really have an impact there. But I was really surprised that they haven't started too well. When I had a little look through here, they've gone 2-3, so maybe they've just played some tough games. So looks like they've played Providence, who they won against. They played Marquette, who they lost against, which is surprising. They lost to Georgetown, which you can kind of expect. Xavier they won in overtime, and then DePaul they lost to quite badly. So maybe they're just trying to still find their feet a little bit. But I expected them to be doing better this season. I expected them to be sort of at least in the middle of the pack, which I suppose they are if they're 2-3 at the moment. But I expected them to be doing a little bit better. In terms of the scouting report, looks like they play a slow offense with a bit of sort of triangle offense again. It looks like in terms of the defensive settings as well, they play a bit of half court, mainly zone, which hopefully will be an advantage for us if we can get our 3-point shot and keep that consistent, which would be great. In terms of the matchups of the players, it looks like fairly whitewashing the backcourt, which you could see. And then this is where I expect them to absolutely dominate us. I expect Tony Tennell to probably match Augustine. I don't expect that to be a complete whitewash, that one. I expect that one to probably be fairly balanced, but probably, they'll probably edge that one. A-Love will probably absolutely dominate Seals, but we real good test for him, because like I said, Seals is off the ball. He is still effective, so whether he can limit Love, that will probably be really key to this battle, to see whether we can beat Creighton. And then in the front court, surprisingly, they put Augustine there, which for me is surprising. For me personally, I'd put Love in at centre and Augustine in at the 4, because I think Love would be more effective in at centre and probably get more of the ball there. And then in terms of the bench, it seems to think that we've got the advantage on the bench, but that's probably because we've in terms of the points, assists, rebounds, blocks, we seem to be winning that battle, because we play a lot more, probably a deeper bench than they do, to be honest with you. But as it says there, their best player is Abraham Love, so if Seals can limit him, that would be really, really good, and that might give us a chance. But I think if Love just goes off, then we'll really struggle. So I'm not too confident on that one. And then our final game we've got to play over the next week is against DePaul. So if we have a look at them, you can see there they play again. It seems like the 3 teams we're playing play a very similar type of offense as we do. It seems like they play a bit of triangle offense, a bit of balance as well. In terms of the backcourt, they play a lot of forecourt man-to-man and backcourt man-to-man. So obviously they don't play a lot of zone. So if we can get them in foul trouble, that might be interesting, because we can get some of their bench players in. If we look at the matchups, it looks like their backcourt, it looks like they're going to probably dominate us in the backcourt. But it looks like we have a bit of an advantage in the centre with Claggett playing there, and it looks like they're going to win on the bench, and probably a whitewash across sort of the small forward, power forward positions. So another really difficult game for me. I think looking at the schedule, I think if we can come out of the next week with a win against Xavier and a win against DePaul, that would be fantastic. I'm not expecting us to win the Creighton game, because I think that they'll beat us. I think their Love will just start to show a point really, and start to progress. And I think that matchup's going to be really interesting, because it is the other human coach within the league. But I think if we can come out of this 2-1, that will leave us obviously with a really good record at 6-2, which would be really good. If we can just keep that momentum going, because as you can see, and I haven't mentioned it for a deliberate reason in this episode, but the following week we have Seton Hall, Georgetown, Butler, 3 really, really good teams. Seton Hall obviously are flying, Georgetown and Butler are sort of the big powerhouse college teams within our conference. So it'll be, if we can keep our record going over these 3 games that we've got coming up next, try and come out 2-1, that'd be really, really good and really promising for us. But I think that's where I'll leave it now for now, guys, and we'll touch base in the next week and see how we've got on against those 3 teams. And as always, if you've got any comments around whether we've got the right strategy, the right guys playing, whether there's anything you think, Coach Fury, you should really have a look at in terms of strategy. To me, 3-0, I can't change it. It seems like we're doing really well. But if you've got any comments on that or any advice, just add it into the comment section below this. And as always, if you want to follow the episodes as they come up and as they're live, just hit that subscribe button and you'll get them as soon as they come onto the channel.